Hey everyone, and welcome to our free monthly webinar. Today we're going to be talking about implementing your CRM vision. We're so excited to have you join us. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Courtney Kearney, founder and owner of Kearney Consulting. So excited to have you join us. Before we jump into the content, I wanted to let you know that our website is chock full of a ton of resources. Feel free to jump out there for articles and upcoming events and webinars. We're going to share some current events that are coming up at the end of the webinar, but I wanted to make sure that you knew about all the resources available to you on our website. Now, if this is the first event that you are attending for the book, CRM or Die, I wanted to let you know that you can visit the website to purchase the book, to check out sneak peeks, to access the book resources if you have purchased a book. You can also spread the word and take a quick 10-minute CRM assessment quiz to allow you to get a score so that you can track it month over month to figure out how you are doing on your CRM journey. And in this way, you have tangible data that you can track over time to show your progress in something like an annual review or things like that. Now, if you have purchased a book, feel free to gain access to those exclusive book resources and downloads that you have access to. Now, if you have not looked at the book, taken anything in for the book or any of our other webinars that we've had this year, the most important takeaway for the entirety of the book is that CRM is not about a piece of technology, but rather it comes down to process and people. The process that you put in place to follow for proper management of your clients and those relationships, and the people that you empower to follow that process. We've broken the book into 4 parts: the foundation, preparation, utilization, and thriving. Now, we have already had 6 previous webinars where we have covered the first 2 sections. Part 1 being the foundation, where we focus on the process and the people that goes into the client relationship management, understanding your firm's CRM and data why, the importance of a well-documented CRM process, data-driven decision-making, why it's important, how data is the future, what does it mean to make data-driven decisions, the benefits of client relationship management. Some are listed on the screen. However, we go into all of the benefits on a webinar. Part 2 is about the process, whether it was business processes, the preparation, evaluating and selecting your integrated CRM solution. Today, we kick off the 3rd part, which is utilization. So today, we're going to put all of the 6 previous webinars into action, and we're going to implement our vision and really trying to figure out what that looks like. Now, you might say, hey, Courtney, should I jump off this webinar? I already have a CRM system. What is there for me to implement? Well, really, you absolutely can re-implement, relaunch, breathe new life into a system that you already have. So definitely don't go anywhere. Hang in there. If you already have a CRM system, you can still benefit from all the things we're going to talk about over the next 25 minutes. Stephen Covey, you might know him as a great business leader. And one of his quotes really stood out to us as we were doing research for the book. Begin with the end in mind. So when you're thinking about what do you want your end results to be, visualize what that looks like. Is that beautifully crafted project sheets with all of your project data for specific projects? Is that a comprehensive master resume with everyone's projects right there at a click of a button? Is that you want to have your forecasting? Is it workload projection? Is it, hey, I just want a place where I know that all of my references stay up to date, where I can go to get my project data, where I can look for all of my client intel before I go to my meetings? What does that perfect end product look like for you? Now, you could say that my end, I don't really care where it is. I don't care what the system looks like. What I care about is a perfect sign that says this on the left-hand side. You can see that. Now, I'm going to look at that and go, that is a really bad location. I don't want the sign to be up against a fence or rebar or the road sign behind it or a cliff, or what does that look like? I might say the end sign on the right looks better for me because I want it to be on a beautiful waterfront. That's what so the stickers, that doesn't really bother me. I don't really care about the nitty gritty of what the end product looks like. What I care about is that we are in a beautiful environment. So you've got to visualize what that end product is for everyone and where you're headed, because that's going to dictate how you get there. So if I care more about what the product looked like on the left, I don't care where, I don't care what the environment is that looks around it, then I'm going to care less about maybe the user interface that the client interacts with or the users interact with to get the data in, because really what they care about is what it looks like when it comes out. Now, if I care more about the experience that I'm having when I'm in that environment, I want it clean, I want it sharp, I want it easy to navigate, I want it to be a streamlined process where I can stay in Outlook and still interact with my CRM system, then I might care more about the right side, the surroundings, than I do about the individual end product. So really, what are we looking at and how are we going to get there? One of the most critical things to getting to that end result is to not do that in a silo, but rather to have an inclusive team that you work with other departments to get you to that end result. So saying siloed in just my marketing data is going to not end you into that end result that you might want. So having it be critical in you as you implement your vision to include accounting, to include operations, to have their input into that data preparation when you are going to implement a new CRM, when you're re-implementing your CRM. As you go through that process, having the conversation so that accounting understands why marketing needs certain information, and that marketing understands why accounting does some of the things that they do, why operations needs the information that they need when they need it. Having done all of that work is going to get you a better result at the end and have a much smoother process. Now, part of that is documentation. Now, if you've attended any of the webinars that are previous to this one, you have heard me talk about documentation. We spent an entire webinar on the 5 steps to create documentation. But what we're going to talk about today are some examples of the documentation that you should create. So things like key terms, a document that clarifies the definitions of terminology used in the CRM process and system. Things like UAT. Does everybody know what that means? The production versus sandbox. Does everybody understand what that means? When we were going through the process mapping webinar, I talked about the terminology in our internal team of what the difference was between a lead and a prospect. Having those key terms defined will really help everyone get on the same page and stay on the same page. And it also helps the onboarding process for new hires so that they can come in and they understand what all the key terminology is. The process guide. Think flowchart. This information starts here, and it's a visualization to help explain how leads and opportunities and projects are tracked and maintained within the organization, so that you can say, we start the leads, we track them in the CRM. Once we win the pursuit and we have a contract, it also goes to accounting. It does this in the accounting system, and then the final information comes back to the CRM, or nightly it comes back. Whatever that process is, having a flow chart so that everybody understands we're all on the same page, we all understand how data and information flows through our company. a user guide, a step-by-step. Now, sometimes this is harder to keep up with when you are doing screenshots, if your user interface changes or things like that. So really understanding your end users is important with this user guide. Does it just need to be a training video or a quick webinar like this one? What will work best? Does it need to vary, whether it's, hey, this is our webinar for onboarding new hires and introducing them to the CRM, versus here, some people like the screenshot step-by-step. What does that look like? But having a guide is critical so that everybody understands how to create and how to modify things like your client record, your contacts, the leads and opportunities, the project, the personnel. Are there certain fields that are locked down that only, hey, I see that the scope or the size of this project is wrong, but it's locked down. Who do I go to notify that the information needs to be up to date? Integration guides or an integration guide. This is really illustrating if there's systems that are talking to each other. So in the example that I gave before, where the information and the pursuit starts out in the CRM, then the information is emailed to the accounting person, because accounting is locked down and we can't push information directly over to accounting, but then accounting pushes information back over. Are you pushing information to an email marketing platform for all of your marketing campaigns? What are the systems that are integrating and how are they working together? Do you interact with your CRM data within Outlook? Does it push out to Power BI? If so, what is getting pushed? How is it being monitored? Who's responsible for updating it? All of those integrations. And then finally, the expectations and responsibility matrix is key, but I always find that this one is the one that least gets implemented or always gets pushed to the back burner. So documenting each team member's role. We spent a webinar talking about the 6 data roles. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that one out. But looking at your data roles, the task, the responsibilities, so that everybody understands, okay, it is business development's responsibility to create the lead. And then once the RFP has come out and is in the public, then marketing takes over. Once the proposal has been submitted, the business development person takes back over. Once the contract is won, then operations takes responsibility. Does everybody understand the role that they play and the responsibilities and expectations going into that? Now, if you have not implemented a CRM system, you want to spend the time to seek out all of your data. So looking at your pursuits, your proposals, your server, your intranet, in binders and Outlook and spreadsheets, find it all, uncover it, turn over every rock, look for all of the data so that you can get it organized, compile it, have it all together so that you can say, okay, this is everything. We're not hiding anything anywhere. There's, we're not going to implement the system and then someone's going to go, oh, did you consider Jimmy's spreadsheet? No, we need Jimmy's spreadsheet now. We need everything all together. So this might stir up some hornet's nest. It might discover that you have this treasure trove of information that you didn't know was there. But really spending that time to seek out all the data is critical. Now, once you've got that master spreadsheet, this is all of the information. We've spent all the time to pull information out of PDFs and put it into the spreadsheet. Then it is time to put on the gloves and do the cleaning, do the scrubbing, looking for the duplicates, working closely with accounting to say, hey, we pulled your client names and we don't understand how Radio Shack has 15 entries. Can you help us understand this? Making sure that it is the understanding for how addresses are going to go, understanding IDs and how that will work, your project data, the naming convention of how we name projects. Is it just going to be accounting calls it whatever, that's going to go into this field? It's this column in our spreadsheet, but marketing knows it by this name. Are we going to have 5 project name fields because operation calls it this and the public calls it this and accounting calls it this? Figuring all those out, break down those silos. Get it all in a place that it's clean and scrubbed, looking for duplicates. Did John Smith move companies and accounting didn't get notified, so their stuff is outdated? If you're combining everyone's Outlook contacts and there's 12 Jane Does, are they all the same Jane Doe? Are they all different? How are we going to handle those duplicates? Getting down to the nitty gritty and cleaning up that data. Now, if you already have a CRM system and you are not doing this ahead of implementation, but rather you're already here, you can still clean your data. And you absolutely should at least twice a year. You should be cleaning your data, looking for duplicates, have people moved. Every contact should have an owner. Don't let orphans run around your system, so that you can say, hey, Courtney, here are all of your contacts. Make sure that they're all up to date. Here, Kim, here are all of your contacts. Make sure they're all up to date, so that you can keep your data clean. Another way of keeping your data clean and preparing is training. So when we talked about our data roles, we talked about those auditors, and the auditors are the strength and conditioning people on the team. When we think about training sessions, we also need to do that when we're implementing our CRM vision. So thinking about having training as a built-in cultural norm. We always have CRM training. It's on the second Tuesday of the month. We always have a CRM get together and we talk about what we're doing in our system, the new features. If there's anything that people aren't doing right, we talk about those. And then we have a happy hour. Whatever that is for your firm, you want to make sure that training is vital and a priority as you're implementing your CRM vision. So some of the best practices around training, you always want to start your training with your why. So if I were to have started this training with, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about 100 key points to CRM success, you would sign out. If I say, hey, if you want your CRM to be successful so that you understand why your company needs your CRM, and then we can go into those 100 bullets, sure. Same way with your training. If you are going to do a training on contacts, how to create them, how to maintain them, starting out with, you click here, these are the 20 fields that we need. Rather, start with, everybody knows that we put out a cost report every quarter. It is a valuable piece of material that we put out. Well, the only way that our clients, whether they're former or current, our prospects, anybody in the industry who wants that valuable information that we put out every quarter, the only way that they're going to get it is if their information is in the CRM, up to date, and you want them to get that cost report, right? Of course, everyone's going to say yes, hopefully. And then you say, okay, well, this is how I need you to enter the contact information, and this is why I need it maintained so that they can get this cost report. Okay, show me the 20 fields that we need to interact with so that they can get that. Starting with the why is key. Why are we here? Why do you need to pay attention to the training for the next 30 minutes? Make the training role specific or topic specific. So I wouldn't expect the CEO of the company to come in and do an admin training. He or she is never going to be an admin of the CRM system. However, if we want to do one on dashboards and analytics, then the CEO would probably want to come to that. Now, that is topic specific. We're going to be talking about the analytics that are coming out of our CRM and how we use our CRM. Great. If it's role specific, okay, we need all the admins to be doing this in the system. We need all the data editors to be doing this in the system. So making sure that everybody knows when they should or shouldn't be attending the trainings. And then you want to make them frequent and consistent. So if you're implementing a new CRM system, having weekly trainings is important. Then you can move to every other week. Then you can move to once a month, once a quarter. I wouldn't go less than once a quarter because it's not going to be top of mind anymore. So if you've had your system and it's a well-oiled machine, definitely consider a quarterly training on your CRM to give updates on what's new, how you're using it, to tell success stories. This is what we were able to accomplish because the CRM was populated, to keep that momentum and to celebrate the wins. When possible, address multiple learning styles, whether that's slides, your voice talking, a screen over where you just take a snapshot of this is how you do something, this is how you create a contact, and it's just a quick video of you mousing and typing. Whatever that looks like and what you're able to accomplish, the more you hit those different learning styles, the more successful your users will be. And then finally, keeping it short and sweet. No more than a 30-minute meeting. Maybe you go into a lunch or a happy hour afterwards, but short and sweet is important. Finally, taking everything that we've talked about for the last 20 minutes and thinking about it as a campaign. Treat the implementation of your CRM vision like any other marketing campaign that you might build. Whether that is, we're going to put together the messaging, and then what is our target audience? What are our benchmarks? What's the content? You got to research it, market it, launch the campaign. Same thing is true for your CRM to be successful. So we want to have communications campaigns where we think about, we're going to email out quarterly all the new features, what trainings are going on, who needs to be in what training, what have we accomplished, highlighting and shouting out other, whether it's offices or teams or pursuits that you won because of the information that you had in the system. All of that can be a campaign that you are intentional about preparing, tracking, reporting. How's it going? We can tweak this, we can tweak that. But really shifting your mind to think about CRM as not just another task on your to-do list, but rather a campaign that you can manage is a very critical shift and can hopefully give you some motivation to implement your CRM. But you can also use this to re-implement or relaunch or breathe new life into the CRM that you already have at your disposal. So the takeaways that we talked about today: begin with the end in mind, then work backwards to identify what you want out of your CRM. You can go in depth with this. I want a comprehensive master resume to include the project name, the location, the date of completion. Now, all of those have to be fields that are in your CRM system that export in the way that you want. So working backwards from what that end vision is important. Form an inclusive team that is not just you, and it's not just your department, but other departments, and bring in that other perspective. Spend time on documentation. We talked about the key terms, the integration guide. All of those are important, the expectations and responsibilities matrix, and seeking out all of the data. Turn over every rock, turn over every spreadsheet, and then spend time to clean it, scrub those duplications, ask all the questions. Why do you do this in accounting? What does this field mean to you? And then having ongoing training, but doing it with thought and intentionality. And finally, building a campaign to implement or re-implement your CRM vision. This is your year. This is your moment. We encourage you to take control of your CRM. And if you are going to be in Atlanta next week, I will be as well. If you are at the SMPS Amplify AEC, definitely find me, say hi. If you give me a business card, then you'll be entered to win a copy of the book. If you are there, Chaz and I are doing a session on relationship mapping, and it's going to take place twice, both on the 18th and the 19th. So definitely check it out. And then if you are interested in a virtual webinar about documentation and the power of mapping your processes, Wednesday, July 27th SMPS Hawaii is hosting me. It is in Hawaii time, so that is a little after the hours for those of us that are on Central and Eastern time, but it might work out depending on what time zone you're in. So I invite you to check that out. And then next week, we have our free CRM chats, so you can come talk more about Chapter 7, implementing your CRM vision, hear what others are doing, what others might be struggling with. If you have questions or want to chat about some of the topics that we've talked about today, then definitely plan to attend that next Thursday, 1 to 1:30 Central. Thank you so much for spending the last 25, 30 minutes with us, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.